To be Martinez. I'm going to go over affect theory. The program that I'm using is Prezi, a presentation software that brings ideas to life through its unique motion, zoom, and spatial relationships. I'm going to be talking about affect theory through the lens of Gregory J, Seigworth and Melissa Gregg in their book titled The Affect Theory Reader. Melissa Gregg is the senior principal engineer at Intel Corporation with a BA in English Literature from the University of Tasmania and a PhD in Gender Studies from the University of Sydney. She co-produced The Affect Reader alongside Gregory J. Segworth. Gregory J. Segworth is the professor of communication studies at Melliers University. He has contributing material into various books such as Deleuze Key Concepts, Animation of Deleuze, and Guattari. Collectively, Grigg and Segworth have put together a collection of essays on affect and cultural theory. But first, what is affect? To begin, Segworth and Grigg have mentioned that affect theory does not have a centralized meaning or clear definition on what affect theory is. This varies per theorist discipline and their lens on the framework. Ultimately, it depends on the thinker on how to define affect theory, which is what the theory is about. This is displayed in the image provided. There is no definite answer to what it means. It just varies in perspective. Moving forward, I'm going to go over affect through the lens of Gregory J. Seigworth and Melissa Gregg. Affect. Affect arrives during the in-betweens of an event. Affect can drive bodies toward movement and thought. Affect is the force of encounters that pass between bodies. By force, Segworth and Greg does not mean literal force or the verb of being forceful. Rather, they mean force as transpire. Bodies are what can be affected and or affected by. Therefore, affect are the transporting encounters that pass between bodies. Affect blur the boundaries between subject and object. It is a visceral response that is so intense that it becomes an agent of change. Quote, perhaps one of the surest things that can be said of both affect and its theorization is that they will always exceed the context of their emergence as the excess of ongoing process. Affect is a never-ending process that can be flexible and malleable. It is always in the state of becoming, and due to that, affect can be unrecognized or recognized. Affect does not build over time. It is an intensity. It is about the quick, intense moments that cause an immediate visceral response. The response disrupts one being. So I provided two examples that show affect. The first is a minor example of this is playing peekaboo with the baby. The immediate response a baby has to the boo affect is neutral because its response is what destabilizes identities. However, it varies from human to images to social networks, media, overall non-human elements. The intensity of affect develops a response that can be taken in any manner, but affect is the intensity of, not the registering effect. The next example will better explain how it can be neutral and varies per human and non-human elements. I do have this advisory for the following content. This does contain sensitive material regarding the Las Vegas Route 91 mass shooting. So please be mindful of the next couple slides. So, a major example that displays affect theory is the Las Vegas Route 91 mass shooting that occurred in October 1st, 2017, which carried a visceral response to human and non-human elements. The event has taken place and the video displays non-linear interaction that the affect response displaces time and space. Even though that time has passed, it is still so dense and intense and revokes an affective response. A simple search on the non-human element, which is Google.com, Twitter, Facebook, etc., can stack up stories of the affected human event that translate over to these non-human elements. Elements that include videos, images, stories, news articles, and so on. Next, I will be playing this video, which is taken at this human event through a non-human elements which are displayed, which is the video itself, how it translated to social media, which then translated to the news, and then translated onto another platform, which is YouTube. As seen through the Las Vegas Route 91 mass shooting, you can see the human elements being affected, such as country artist singer Jason Aldean, and running across the stage, translating through crowds onto video to social networks, to media outlets, and so forth. So this event developed an affect response, visceral response, that displaces the identities of human and non-human elements. It affects response to, once again, human and non-human elements. The tragic event has evoked a response beyond the human element as it takes place on non-human elements, such as social media, news, newspapers, videos, and images that will continue to have an affect. The event garnished human and non-human attention. In sum, affect theory provides a theoretical frame to analyze the visceral responses on quick events that take place that disrupts one being. Affect is a force, but not forceful. It's transpiring. Affect blurs the boundaries between subject and object. It is a visceral response that disrupts one being. And affect also varies from human to non-human elements. Affect is flexible and it can be applied to different contexts. Given the framework, it is interesting to see how it could be applied today with various other events.